Welcome back to the channel. I'm Chris.
And I'm Chris.
And we are coming to you from the future. This job is already done. So we successfully fit 17x9 Cobra R clone wheels and tires on Kris Jr.'s 1982 Ford Mustang GT, which we affectionately nicknamed Project
Piece of Stang.
The Project POS. I love that name. I don't think he does so much, do you? All right, anyway, so we're done. They fit. It worked. It was a lot of work, though. It wasn't easy. Had to order some stuff for it. Had to use some spacers. But anyway, this is how it went. And enjoy the video. So something just came up. And I'm headed about an hour from here up near Austin to get something really cool for Kris Jr.'s car. And once I have it, I'll show you what it is. Kris Jr. is away at camp, so he knows this might happen. He is aware that I might be purchasing something, but I plan to do it, tell him I didn't, and then pick him up in his car and show him what I did while he was gone. Alright, so I've come and gone. I didn't want to record the guy or his private home, but this is what I went to pick up. Some 1995 Cobra R replica wheels. Of course, the real Cobra R's are 5-lug. These are 4-lug knockoffs. They're not real Cobra R's, but they will fit this car because we are 4-lug mafia for life. You can see that, and they're a little dirty, but they just need cleaned up. They all look pretty good. Junior likes his old school centerline wheels, but he hates having to deal with the center cap. He likes the way they look. He hates having to work with them and work on them. He saw these and wanted these, so I'm going to put these on his car tomorrow. Probably have to clearance the fender a little bit. I'm going to take the rubber off these for my car, and then I'm probably going to sell those old center lines just to recoup some money. I paid $500 for this full set, and there are 4 of them in there. So, pretty good tread on these tires. There's 17x9s. I'm not really worried about the backs, but I am worried about the front clearing that fender and snagging on it a little bit. But anyway, that's it for tonight. I'm going to drive home, and tomorrow I'll try to fit these on the car, clearance anything needs clearance, to test drive it. And then in a few days when I pick up Junior, I'll surprise him because he knows I was looking at these, but he doesn't know I bought them. Little side note, about an hour from home, I decided to top off the gas tank and see what it did. Junior's car getting 15 miles per gallon because it's amazing, because we built it, of course. And I am behaving. I am keeping my foot out of the throttle 90% of the time. So imagine what it could do if I drove this thing normally 100% of the time. It would be awesome. I'm going to take back my previous statements about how good these headlights are. They do okay on most lit roads. Never really noticed a problem. This farm to market road is completely blacked out. There's no lighting anywhere. These headlights are not cutting it. They are nowhere near as bright as I thought they were. It is bright and early the next day, or as bright and early as I get up working night shift. We're going to try to get these tires on. The first thing I'm going to do is measure all of them and confirm that they are 17x9, and there aren't a couple of 17x8s. The guy was pretty sure they're all 17x9s, so we'll figure it out. It is the next day, and this is one of the main reasons Junior hates these wheels. Constantly having to have an Allen wrench around to get these stupid center caps off. They are all definitely the same size, but measuring them from the same point all the way across, it really seems like they're a 10-inch mounting surface. And it's really hard to see, but from mounting surface to mounting surface, maybe not. But anyway, they're all the same exact size. All the new rubber is 245 45 ZR17s. And we are going to start with our problem child, the front passenger side fender. See if we can get this tire to clear. It occurred to me in the middle of the night, about 2 a.m. Much to my horror, I do not have any lug nuts for these things. I seem to think they require a special lug nut. And all we have are these little generics. They came off Junior's tire. I don't know if this is going to work. I guess it's just the open nature of the tire. We're not used to it being open like this, but it looks like it fits completely different. The back spacing and everything. It looks like it sits actually pretty far out into the fender. Let's see. There's already a problem. I did manage to get these lug nuts to fit. However, yeah, the Junior's cheap coilover kit is definitely hitting the inside of this tire. And I'm not sure there's going to be any way to clear that. I don't think that's going to get any better when I put the car on the ground. And if I do come up with some spacers, I don't think these lug studs are long enough to use any spacers. I put the car on the ground, and what I thought was going to be the problem with this clearing the fender is not a problem. It fits nice and tucked in there. As far as I can tell, reaching my hand back here, I think it's still rubbing even with the car on the ground. So I'm not sure that's going to work. Put the car on the ground to see what the wheel looks like in it, and man, it actually looks smaller. It's a bigger wheel, bigger tire, and it looks like it fits in there smaller. That's weird. I'm going to back it up back and forth and see how bad it rubs while it's on the ground. So I put it on the ground, and I thought I had just a tiny little bit of clearance, and I drove it up and down the block like a quarter mile, and I didn't hear anything. I couldn't hear any impact or any squeaking, but it is. The rim is hitting here, the tire is hitting here, and there's small amounts of rubber shaving. So that is not going to work. The good news is that if I can get those tires to space out just a little bit, they did not snag the fender anywhere. They didn't hit anything else. The only witness marks are right here on the inside of the rim. I probably need a 1/4 inch. For now, I'm just going to put the old rims back on the front, and I'm going to try to test fit the Cobras on the back of the car just to see what we're dealing with while I've got a little shade. Well, the rear fit really well. In fact, the rear have more than a 1/2 inch of clearance all the way around. With the car on the ground, I can run my hand all the way around the tire everywhere, and there's no issues whatsoever. And this is the closest we have to the exhaust pipe, and I can fit my hand in there. Everything else has got plenty of space. My only issue with the rear is, dear God, this lower profile tire makes the car look even more off-road. Oh my God. Bigger rim, bigger tire, and it just fits horribly. When we do the shocks and struts, we're planning on cutting the 1/2 coil off the back of this thing to lower it a little, because it looks off-road at all times, even with the other rims, but it looks worse with these. It's definitely a back spacing issue. This tire fills out the wheel well better than this one. This one's sitting in way too far. I'm going to use some washers to try to figure out approximately how much depth I need. I figured I'd start with 2 on each one, and if that clears the suspension, then I'll know. And if that doesn't work, I'll put 4 washers on 2 of the lugs and check clearance and see if that works, and try to figure out how much of a wheel spacer I'm going to need for these things. With just those 2 washers behind the wheel, it spins freely. The rubbing is the brakes, but it appears to be clearing the coilovers in the back. I don't know if it's going to clear while it's on the ground or not. Let's see. Oof, it is tight. That's probably a 1/4 inch spacer, and the tire's still fairly well tucked up in here. I'll probably need a 1/2 inch spacer. I'm going to drive this up and down the block real quick just to see if I have any contact with the coilover or not. See if that clears. I still don't like how far tucked in that wheel is. I'd probably go with a 1/2 inch spacer in the front, probably a 1 inch spacer on the back. I'm not liking this. We have got some play in the front end, and it appears to be the steering rack, not the ball joints, the tie rod ends. It appears that the internals of the steering rack are moving. Alright, I'll have to address that after I get this figured out. Alright, so with 2 washers, which is roughly a 1/4 inch, I didn't measure it. With 2 washers, we have no new contact. This was the old one. There's no rubber, there's no new rubber, and the inside of the rim is not making contact any longer. This is old damage, this is old rubber. There's nothing new. I didn't hear anything, I didn't feel anything. Of course, I didn't on the first one either, but we don't have any contact. Let's see. Yeah, I don't like that. Anyway, I'm thinking I want a 1/2 inch spacer up front and a 1 inch spacer in the back, and I'm going to see if I can find any online. Unfortunately, that means that these aren't going on the car today. Dang it. Alright, putting 4 washers per wheel, roughly 1/2 inch, where I can get my finger down inside the gap. Also allows me to get my finger down between the coilover and the rim, giving me extra space. And then when you lower it on the ground with a 1/2 inch, the 1/2 inch also allows it to fill in the gap a little better. Allows it to actually come out and fill in the space of the tire well. And because I'm dumb, I didn't think to check the rear back spacing while I had the car in the air using the washers. So now I've got to take them back off. Have I mentioned one of the reasons that Junior and I hate these centerline wheels is these stupid Allen-headed center caps you have to line up to take on and off. They're easy to get off if you have the correct Allen wrench. Got to make sure you don't lose that. But they are a pain to line up and get back on. I ran into a problem measuring the rears. The lug studs on this wheel are so short, I could only measure it with 2 washers on there. Starting at 3 washers, they wouldn't reach. You can't get lug nuts on them. There's no thread exposed. So I've got 2 on there, which is roughly a 1/4 inch right now. A 1/2 inch might be okay, but I think these things could come out another 1/2 inch or more and would look a lot better. So I might go with 3/4 inch spacers in the back, assuming I can find some. Just out of curiosity and boredom, I put a 1/2 inch worth of spacers on the back of Junior's wheels that he already had on the car, and this is the look I'm going for. This spaces that tire out just enough that it fits this wheel well really well. It comes in here. Of course, it's still too high up off the ground, but I really like this to be about here. But we're gonna have to handle that with coil springs. But that is the fitment I'm looking for. Comes out to the very edge and the fender just drops right over it. That's why I think I need at least 1 inch on the back for these Cobras. God, I cannot wait till these things are no longer in our lives. I finally got around to measuring these washers. They're about 1/10 of an inch each. So 2 of them is 0.2 inch, 4 of them is 0.4 inch. So it's less than 1/2 inch for 4, less than 1/4 inch for 2. So less than 1/4 inch, and my front wheel is cleared. Still think I need 1 inch on the back. It's a couple of days later and some stuff came in that ought to help us get the Cobra R wheels on the car. Got some 8mm thick wheel spacers. I got a set of 4, one for each wheel. We'll see how they look. We also got these extended thread or extended shank lug nuts. This shank here goes inside the spacer to help take up the space we're going to be using up from the threads. So this will go inside the wheel spacer. So these are 7mm shanks. They look like they're 8mm shanks. Looks like it'll take up the gap we're going to be using and fill in the space we're going to need to fill. So hopefully that'll allow us to run some wheel spacers in the back rims. Unfortunately, I've been at work and haven't had a chance to do anything to the car for a few days. And Junior just got home from his trip, so we're going to go pick him up. He's going to be sad to see that the old wheels are still on here, but we're going to come home and try to get the new ones on. I went and got Junior, but he's pretty hot, tired, and sweaty. It didn't help that I went and got him in this car. So I'm going to go ahead and try to knock these out, and he's going to go with me on a test drive if they fit. I still hate these rims. These things are super lightweight, so hopefully there won't be any balance issues. When I picked them up, I really thought they were just almost made of plastic or something, but I actually tried torquing on them and twisting them, and they're actually pretty sturdy. So hopefully this works. They're a universal 4-lug, so they're a little loose, but they actually center fairly well, so that's good. The old lug nuts are 13/16. These are 3/4, meaning we're going to have to get Junior a new lug wrench to keep in his trunk. It is very tight back there, but you can see I can fit my coilover wrench under there, and the coilover wrench comes through over here. So there is a space. Hopefully we'll maintain that space once the car is on the ground. Lugs are fully tightened down, and the wheel does spin freely with a little gap in the back. That sound you hear is our old chewed up brake rotor from a previous incident, but the wheel is spinning freely. Now to do the other side, I just realized I haven't even attempted the other side yet. Hopefully the same fix takes care of it. I did the same exact fitment test over here. It fit exactly the same way. Put the spacer on, and it once again fits exactly the same way. Just enough room for the wrench behind the tire. So moving on to the rear. I realized when I was spinning the wheel, the hub had fallen way off center. As I spun it around, the hub would disappear and reappear and disappear and reappear. And I was pretty sure, as lightweight as this is, that was going to throw us off balance on our wheels really badly. So I loosened the wheels a little, held the hub in place, or held the spacer in place on the hub, tightened everything down. It seems to be much better now. Luckily for us, this spacer is the exact same size as the center hub. Also, luckily for us, all this room in here, I can just reach in here and hold it in place while I tighten it down. I'm going to have to go back to the other front wheel and do that with the rear wheels also. Much better. Oh yeah, I definitely had to come back and recenter that spacer and rebalance this thing. Much better. That is much better looking. Those 8mm did make a little bit of a difference. It sits better. Hopefully it's going to ride all right. Before I even mess with doing anything else, I'm going to go test drive it a short distance, make sure I don't hear anything, make sure there's no new rubber shavings or anything with these spacers. I'm going to drive down this little narrow road with a hill on the side and see if I hear any rubbing. I don't hear anything echoing. Thought I heard a little bit of rubbing when I backed out of the driveway at full lock. I think it was the driver's side, I'm not sure. Still don't hear any echoing or any rubbing. I'm back from the test drive. When I got back, I had Junior come out here and I backed up and pulled forward and went front and back, turned the wheels each side fully. We have no new witness marks, nothing's hitting in here, nothing's snagging the fenders, nothing's hitting the shocks. It looks like we have full clearance. I'm going to check the other side just to be safe, then I'll put it all back together, move on to the rears, and then we'll go on a full length test drive. I've gotten tired of having to deal with these spacers, so exhaust gasket seal for the win. Just stuck them on there, glued it centered. I'm going to put the wheel on, move on. Side number 2 is done. I forgot to mention earlier, these spacers and these lug nuts all had essentially universal praise online in the reviews, hundreds of reviews. Nobody said anything about any failures or any issues. Some people didn't like them, but nobody had any actual technical complaints. And here is why we hate these things. I went to take these off, stuck this in here, went to turn it, and it just spun. It just stripped out the head of the Allen screw. These things hadn't been off in a couple of months, and it's just seized in there solid. So I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm probably going to have to drill the head off this thing. Luckily, I'm at home. If Junior had broken down on the side of the road, he'd be stuck. Thank God I was able to hammer in an ever so slightly larger Allen head, and with enough lube and time, I eventually got it off. So I've mounted both rear wheels. I wanted to get a look at it on the ground with both of them on. It doesn't look horrible. I mean, still got our off-road stance, but that's going to be a spring issue. We'll have to address that later. There's nothing to be done about that for now. It doesn't look bad, but I have a lot more wheel lug thread in the back than I thought I did. I don't know why I thought it was such a tight fit. So I'm going to go ahead and put the spacers on, because I actually have plenty of lug nut thread in the back, and I want to see what it looks like with the 8mm spacers. These spacers actually fit better and tighter and more centered on the back than they do the front, and I am still gasket sealing them into place because I'm paranoid. Here's the car on the ground. Both spacers in. Minimal difference in the back. It's really hard to tell the difference. Just 8mm. They're just small front wheel spacers, but everything looks good. Now I've got to go test drive it and see, make sure they're balanced and make sure it's going to go down the road straight. These are the type of spacers we want to put on the rear wheels. Some 1-inch thick, true bolt-on spacers. Much more secure, much more stable. Push the wheel out quite a bit more. Sadly, these don't fit our car. These came with these wheels, but they're for a different car. They're adapters. They're for some foreign car, 2 Mustang wheels, so they won't work. But if we do this, this will be when we do the rear suspension and stuff, and that'll be up to Junior. If he likes it this way, we'll leave it. If he wants some of these, we'll probably try to budget for some of that in a month or two. Look who finally joined us. I made him check the air pressure in the tires. I'm glad I did. They were really low. He's airing them up, and we're going to go on a test drive. Gratuitous camshaft chop clip, just to listen to old gal make some noise. Look who finally joined us, the world's worst part-time assistant. So we're going to take this thing on a test drive. We're going to start off slow in the neighborhood, listen for any sounds, feel anything that feels weird, and then we're going to circle the neighborhood. Then we're going to progressively speed up and get on the highway and hopefully not die like men, right, boy? alterations, or at least no new ones, nothing more than the usual. So we're doing 60 and it feels pretty good. So here we are. We've done the first half of our test drive. Car's looking pretty good. You like them, Chris? You like them a lot better than the other ones? All right, well, the test drive is almost over. Feels good. We like the tires, we like the rims. No more traction than we ever had. Still just blows them off through first and second gear, but it's riding really nice and smooth, so we're happy with it. We're just gonna go home and get some air conditioning and call it a day. That's it, folks. Thanks for watching. Someone here did a lot less work than the other person in the car, you know, on this project. Someone here was part-timing it, but we got it done and drives really well. I like them. He really likes them. I'm hoping here soon we'll get the rubber off of those centerline tires and get them on my tires or my wheels and sell those center lines. We'll never have to deal with them again. They were beautiful. I loved them when they're on the car. They are a pain to get on and off the car. But anyway, if you want some of those center lines, give me a call. But I think that's it. Thanks for watching. We appreciate it. Bye-bye.